Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to show you how I painted this painting of Gandalf the White. This is another installment of my series now of Lord of the Rings screen capture studies. And my goal is to complete the fellowship. I got a little distracted because I did want to paint Galadriel, and she's not technically part of the fellowship, but it's fine. Gandalf certainly is, and he comes in two forms, both gray and white. I know it's technically the same person, but he looks very different, so I felt like I had to paint him. And also, I was looking through screen caps from The Return of the King, and turns out that a vast majority of scenes where Sir Ian McKellen is featured, he's really backlit. And it's really hard to find a really good reference image to paint, but the scene they were in the stables in Meduseld, and I just thought it was gorgeous. The lighting was gorgeous. There was so much, it was so high contrast because of the dark background. His eyes were popping. He was so expressive, and I had to paint it. So this footage is a mix of screen recordings done directly on my iPad, screen recording done on my PC through OBS and a capture card, and then occasionally I have to put in some VOD footage from stream. A lot of this I did paint on stream, and unfortunately my iPad kept running out of memory, and I had no choice but to use the VOD footage. So apologies for that. It is a little not so great quality compared to the screen recording done directly on the iPad, and even the OBS screen recording, to be fair, also does not look the cutest. I don't know why. It should look good, but it doesn't. I guess there's nothing I can do about that, but yeah, hopefully you can at least just see the process and see the choices that I'm making. So the process generally is the same as what I've done for the previous paintings. Basically, I'm just using Medibang Paint on my iPad. I do also have it for PC, but the brushes that I use are either a little different, or just like you can't tweak the settings in the same way that you can on the mobile version. So unfortunately, I much prefer painting on my iPad, even though there's not much space on it. And yeah, that's the main thing. It is nice because my iPad's pretty mobile, but I do also have a laptop that I can draw directly onto, and it would be nice to be able to use that, but it is what it is. Maybe someday it'll change. But really, there's two settings that I use that basically make or break the brush that I'm using. I have two brushes that I use. They are the default watercolor soft brush and watercolor wet brush. And the watercolor soft brush is the one that I use for laying down color. The watercolor wet brush is the brush that I use for mixing colors or blending. And the watercolor soft brush, I change very often the color load and the ease of mixing colors depending on what I'm doing, whereas the watercolor wet brush, my mix brush, I always keep with like 0% color load and 100% mixing. Not to say it doesn't lay down any color, but it blends out a lot more than the other brush. And those are the two brushes I used for the entire painting. And minus one very, very short moment towards the end where I added some like fine hairs and stuff, and I needed to blend out like sort of where they came from, where they originated from, so it wasn't such a stark line, I guess, or difference between what was under them and the hair that caught the light. I used a smudge brush for that because I did that on a layer on top of the main painting, and the mix brush won't work unless like you got stuff under it, otherwise it just lays down color. So it wasn't blending it out. So I'd use the smudge brush, but I generally don't use the smudge brush or the blur brush because it just looks weird and pixelated, and I don't know, and not nice. But it worked out fine for this because they were just tiny little hairs. But yeah, that is what I used. and the main process here is going piece by piece, because especially in this one, but this is how I usually do it anyway. Usually in the reference images that I choose, the lighting is quite dynamic and people's skin looks very different on, like, say, the right side of their face versus the left side of their face. So if I were to lay down just one color all over the face, it, I think, would throw me off a lot, and I might be unintentionally influenced by that base color that I laid down. So really what I do is just take section by section. And another reason I don't just do like one part at first, like just do the skin first or just do the hair first, which I kind of do generally, but you know, I switch and go between different sections a lot because I get bored and I don't want to get bored. I want to keep the flow going. I want to keep it, like, keep up the momentum. And once I get sort of bored with an area or feel like an area is getting a little too stressful, and especially if my brush starts getting too small and I keep getting into the fine details before I do much else, then that's a problem, and I usually just move to a different area for a bit and I'll return to someplace I was working on earlier after I'm done with another section, or, you know, I might not even be done with the other section, but once I just feel like I have to move on. And that way I feel like, one, it's a little more cohesive, and two, it's less stressful, right? I think it encourages me to look at the bigger picture when I go from one section to a completely other section and then go back and forth between multiple different sections, because I don't just get stuck into one thing for too long. But you'll notice this part here, I did go with quite a fine brush for some things just because I was testing some things out and I wanted to see what they would end up looking like. And most of these, like, fine lines and, like, sort of like the texture under his lash line and things like that, I kept them the same, really. Very little was blended out towards the end, so I guess I just got lucky in that regard, that I tested something out and it turned out good first try. But yeah, part of the reason I chose this reference image was because it was so interesting, and I like how you can see his wrinkles and, like, the 3D-ness of his face and his expressiveness and the, like, different colors of his skin. Like, you'll notice it's a little, like, greeny yellow under his eyes versus, like, on his cheek where it's clearly like ruddy brown color in the shadows. And I thought it was a good opportunity to study and practice. And as I've explained in previous videos, I am using a color picker, but because of my brush settings, the color that I choose never comes out exactly as I pick it from the reference image, and that's intentional. One, because I want to obviously practice learning how to mix colors and choose colors, but also because if you just take a color picker and choose exactly the same colors from a photo and try to put it into painting form, it doesn't exactly translate very well. It tends to make things look very, very flat. And so I did not want to do that, and so I did the same thing I usually do, which is you'll notice those bars that pop up on sort of the left side of the canvas with all those different color spectrums and things like that. That's where I change the brush size and the opacity as well, which I don't touch very much throughout. It's usually at a slightly lower opacity. It's never 100% opacity, just for ease of mixing. But you'll notice those two top bars. That's what I always change, is the value and the saturation. Now, when I do darker values, I tend to up the saturation, and when I do lighter values, I also tend to do the opposite and decrease the saturation, just because that's what I'm seeing in the picture. It might be hard to see because it's very sped up right now. This is about, I set it to 2000 in terms of speed, so very fast. This is on whatever that means, DaVinci Resolve, when you write 2000 in the section for the speed. It's quite fast. In terms of total hours, I'm not actually sure how long this took me. All I know is that, like, the second clip took me about 50 minutes. And then we were streaming for a good 3.5 hours, or 3 hours 15 minutes or so. And so altogether it's probably about 5 hours worth of painting, so not bad. Again, just a study, nothing super serious. So after a few final touches, he was finished. So what do you think? Do you like him? I think it turned out pretty well. It was fun. I think the reference image, again, I really loved it. I loved the lighting. I think I learned a lot, and I want to continue doing these kinds of portraits for all kinds of things. Maybe not just Lord of the Rings, but I love Lord of the Rings, so we're probably going to do more Lord of the Rings. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and give this video a like if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more things like this. I do art, I do games, and I'd love to have you. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!